Hey guys, Elizabeth here from Plant-Based Bride, and today I wanted to talk about Unnatural Vegan and intersectionality. So Unnatural Vegan has come out with 3 videos in which she speaks about how she disagrees with the intersectional movement, why she thinks intersectionality is bad for veganism, and why she doesn't consider herself an intersectional vegan. Now, as I saw each of these videos come out and watched them, I became more and more frustrated and angry with her point of view and her lack of understanding of the movement. But I didn't want to make a response because as someone who only deals with one form of oppression, I am a woman and therefore deal with sexism, but other than that, live a quite privileged life. I wanted to leave more room in the conversation for those who had a deeper understanding of why intersectionality is important. Like Reg Flowers, for example. I will link a couple of his incredible videos in the description box. He is a part of the LGBTQ+ community. He is a person of color. He's very eloquent in the way he describes intersectionality and why it's important. The simplest way that I can think to describe my understanding of intersectionality is that different forms of oppression don't just add together, they multiply. So if I were to consider my own oppressions, and really the major one that I deal with is sexism, and assigned that a value, say 3, just an arbitrary value to explain this, and if instead of being a white person, I was actually a person of color and I was experiencing racism, and I were to attribute a random value to that as well, say 3. Again, this is just a very simple explanation, and I'm not equating sexism to racism. I'm not saying that the oppressions are equal. Just for example, I'm giving them both 3 to make it very simple. So in this hypothetical situation where I experienced both sexism and racism, those 2 oppressions wouldn't just add together. It wouldn't be 3 plus 3 equals 6 oppression score or whatever in this situation. It would be multiplied. So it would be the sexism I experience and the racism I would experience in this hypothetical situation would multiply together to create 9, for example. And in that way, I feel like it makes it very clear that the more oppressions you add, the larger the oppression you deal with on a day-to-day basis becomes, and very quickly. It's not just a simple addition, they are multiplied together. And another thing that I think Unnatural Vegan misunderstood is that intersectionality is not saying that all forms of oppression come from the same place or are caused by the same thing or the same group of people. It's that we need to understand oppression as a whole and all the different forms of oppression that occur, because in people's lives, all of those oppressions are intrinsically linked. If you are both a person of color and a woman, those 2 oppressions can't be separated for you. If someone calls you a racial slur, you can infer that that's coming from just one of those oppressions, but you can't determine that 100%. You can't know that this person's sexism towards you isn't amplified by their racism, or that their racism towards you isn't amplified by the fact that you're a woman and they feel less threatened by you and therefore more comfortable oppressing you. So I think Unnatural Vegan really missed the whole point of intersectionality in her video. And I don't want this to be a very long video. I, again, want to leave the floor open for those who are more experienced in speaking about intersectionality and also who have more personal experience with intersecting forms of oppression. Because, as I said already, I am very privileged and I deal with very few forms of oppression in the grand scheme of things. And I'm very grateful to have been born into a privileged situation. And I want to be a good ally and to speak up for other members of the community and other members of the world, other earthlings who are dealing with oppression, and that's what I try to do with my channel and with my presence online. But I don't want to overstep my bounds, and I don't want to seem as though I'm speaking about things that I don't have personal experience in. Now, the impetus for this video was a video that Reg Flowers recently made. I will link it below in the description box. And he called the video an apology to Unnatural Vegan. And it's a very long video. I would suggest starting at about the 20-minute mark or so, about halfway through, if you're interested in the part that addresses Unnatural Vegan directly, though the entire video is valuable and very informative and interesting. And there's one thing he said that really, really stuck out to me, and this is it.
It's not Unnatural Vegan's job to look at the world through a social justice lens. It's Unnatural Vegan's job job to maintain the status quo. That's her job.
So I can only infer what he means by this, but the impression I got, and from what he continued to say, was that Unnatural Vegan, as a white privileged woman in the Western world, that it's her job to maintain the status quo, to maintain a system that affords her privileges for being cisgendered, for being straight, for being white, for being able-bodied, and for having enough money to support herself. And I can see where he's coming from in this. I can see why he would say it. But as someone who shares many of those privileges with Unnatural Vegan, I have to disagree. Because I do think it's our job to fight a system that oppresses people, even if those people aren't us. And that's exactly what veganism is about. I'm not a vegan because I personally am oppressed by the animal agriculture industry as much as you can pull out the environmental destruction and the negative health impacts of eating those foods and how they would impact me personally. Still, the main reason why I'm a vegan is for ethical reasons. It's because I wholeheartedly disagree with how our society treats non-human animals, and that doesn't impact me at all. I am a human and I am completely separate. I am part of the oppressing group, and yet I still think it is my job to fight for those animals. Now, of course, I'm not saying that the oppression of non-human animals is equal to the oppression of different human groups. Of course not. And of course, other humans from different backgrounds and who experience different types of oppression than I do have the ability to stand up for themselves, to speak for themselves, which animals don't. But I still don't think that that precludes us from the responsibility to stand up for our brothers and sisters. As much as I feel that the floor should be left open and that those voices who experience the oppression should be encouraged to speak up and to lead the movements, I still think it is so important to have allies in any fight. And that's what I think intersectionality is all about. If you guys found this video interesting, please like it and subscribe to my channel for more videos every Monday and Saturday. Let me know in the comments below if you would like for me to talk about intersectionality more frequently on my channel, if you would like me to make more video responses to what Unnatural Vegan is saying in her intersectionality series of videos. I would be happy to do that if that's something you guys would like to see. Please leave any recommendations for channels or videos about veganism and intersectionality in the comments below. I would love to check them out. I would also love to know your thoughts on Unnatural Vegan's 3 videos on the topic of intersectionality. What are your thoughts on them? How do you feel about what she said? What are your views of intersectionality and veganism? And also, if you have watched some of the videos I'm linking in the description box from Reg Flowers and other YouTubers like A Privileged Vegan, what do you think about their videos and their responses? Check out my last video here. Don't forget to follow me on social media, and if you enjoy what I do, please consider supporting me on Patreon. You can pledge as little as $1 a month, which I know I would not even notice, and it makes a huge difference for me for little things like replacing this camera that cuts me off mid-word and I don't realize and keep talking for another 2 minutes and then have to refilm the end of the video. That didn't just happen or anything. Until next time, bye guys.